ahead, Uniform Kilo Hotel Group over at North and give us the call sign. The name of this is Jim and the delivery station is Joe. So go ahead, sir.
Hi everyone, it's Chris again, the 2E0UKH, 2R0UKH today, and I've just picked up something pretty special. This is a Anytone 868. It's a dual band FM DMR 7-watt radio, and it's quite versatile. There's quite a lot of fantastic features on here. I mean, none of these are perfect. You know, I've got the Ailunce Hd1. There's things that does that this doesn't do, and there's things that my MD380, I'm looking for it, will do, but these don't. You know, so nothing's perfect. The firmware's in early development, so there's a few bugs. I haven't seen many bugs. Only bug I've found, it's got a timer on it that switches off after X amount of minutes, and when I've got that on, it freezes, so it won't be using that. But there's regular firmware updates, and that's what you get for being an early adopter. So what do I like about the radio? Right, well, I like the build quality. The build quality is lovely, feels very good in the hand, and it's quite small. It's quite small compared to the Ailunce Hd1. So quite a lot smaller. Now there's things you can do on the HD1 that you cannot do on here. You know, if you're going out and you've got every channel programmed in that you're going to want, then this will be fine. But there are certain limitations. In a minute I'll show you an overhead view of the screen and what you can do on there. And you know what the limitations are. But no, this is a beautiful radio, and I'm looking forward to showing you all the good, and there's not many bad points about it. So right, so I'm just going to look at the specs of the radio, of the Anytone 868, and I just wanted to say I got mine from Moonraker in Woburn Sands in the UK, and when you get it from there, you get it fully programmed up with your call sign, everything ready to go with a UK code plug. Even if you didn't get it from there, you can obtain the code plug from their website. So they're not just putting it on the radios for people that have bought them. You know, you can go and pinch their code plug, you know, and they're very knowledgeable on DMR. So they're good guys there, and that's where I get a lot of my local stuff from. They're my nearest supplier. So I'm just going to go over the spec. Just check them at the top. So this is bridgesystems.com, US website, and this is the most detailed I could find. $169, and it's about 140 UK pounds. So it's a VHF UHF dual band FM DMR. I'll just go over some of the highlights here. High power 6 watts. Mine when I measured it was 7 watts, so it goes down to 1 watt. Programming cable included. Nice bright screen, ideal for sunlight. It's brighter than the HD1. Tons of channels, 4,000 channels, 10,000 DMR talk groups. 150,000 DMR IDs in the database you can hold. I'm sure I read 160,000, but either way, it's the radio that holds the most that I've seen. 250 zones, up to 250 channels per zone. I mean, that's crazy. So if you know, it's dual line, you could have 250 channels on the top and 250 on the bottom. I haven't actually got 250 to put in, but you know, it might take that many. I haven't actually tried, but I've got nearly 200 in some of them. So good battery, 3100 battery, very good software. You can export DMR talk groups and channels, and you can export them to a CSV file. Water resistant, dust resistant. Free downloadable software. So that's all about the spec there. Next stage I'm going to talk about the radio. So I'm going to go over some of the things I like about the 868. One of the things I like, it shows the call sign and the talk group. It shows the last person that spoke on a talk group. Where it says last caller, the 0 just meant there was a bit of internet issue this end. So there's someone talking there. I'm on another channel and it says the last group, the last bit of activity was that call sign, that name on that group. So it cycles round like that. So that's pretty cool. This radio's got a mic gain control. So I think it's five levels of microphone gain. It's got a big battery, 3100 battery, 7 watts, water resistant. It's got 5 programmable buttons for short press and long press. You can program P1, P2, and there's 2 buttons below transmit. There's one there, and there's a transmit button. There's an emergency button, a red button at the top, and that gives you turbo power, and this L goes to a red T. It's fairly easy to program, very complicated, detailed options in the programming software. Now this radio has got the Kenwood connector, which we like because any microphones and stuff that work on the UV5R will work on here, but I have noticed some of the cheaper ones you get motorboating. I think that's the term, where audio comes back down the microphone because it's not shielded, and it makes very bad audio. So if you've got a good quality Kenwood 2-pin connector, that'll work on here. I've got one I use on the 3.8 on the UV5R, that works on here. It's got its own version of promiscuous mode. It's called digital monitor, and if you're on an actual FM repeater, actual DMR repeater, you put this monitor on, and even if you don't have that talk group on that people are talking on, you can listen into the conversation, and I think you can join in. There's something to do with the hash button to fix it. I haven't looked into that because I've got all the channels in I like, but even if you're on slot 2, it will tell you, it will let you listen to the audio of someone on slot 1, and it will tell you where they are, what talk group and stuff's going on. Just going through a list here. I like the size and the build quality of it. I'm trying to compare it to the 380, it's very difficult, but I can't fit it on the screen because I've got this camera on a stand. But the bottom of the radios are together, and the top, so it's about the size of the 380. About the size of the 380 or the RT3, they're the same radio basically. So I'll just shut that door there. Right. So I like the size and build of it. It's very pocketable. The size compared to the Hd1 is size compared to the Hd1. The bottoms are level, so but you can see it's a lot taller. The HD1 is very sturdy. Now this one, the 868, has got a VFO mode on it, and how have I programmed it? I've programmed it to one of these programmable buttons. I think it's a quick tap. So a quick tap of that and you can put it in VFO mode, and I think you can scan off from that, you know, search, and you can go into the settings. Just checking, we're in analog mode, so you get slightly different settings from analog to digital. So if you go into settings, number 1 and 2, these are your main settings. You've got the radio set, which is just general stuff, and you've got the channel set, which is how to open repeaters and set your channels up, especially in analog mode. So, sorry, especially in VFO mode. So in channel set, you can change the channel type, analog or digital, or any combination for the 2 different lines. I've got mine on single line, I always prefer that. You can change these tones. You can operate the you can change the operating power. You've got squelch, bandwidth, 12.5, 25. You can reverse it so you can see who's coming. You can listen to the input. So you can change the receive frequency, the transmit frequency. So if we're on a repeater, you can have it a bit lower or higher to transmit. You can change the name. You can make it receive only, so if you want to hand it to someone that just wants to listen. DMR IDs. Loads of tone options here which I won't use. So that was the channel set in analog mode. So like I say, I've programmed this for the VFO option. Now this VFO mode is very good. You can set your channels, especially in analog mode. You can open repeaters, you can go to a simplex channel, but you cannot save that to a memory as of the current firmware version. You know, that might change in the future, but as of May, you can't do that at the moment, May 2018. So just looking through the list now. So I'm saying here you can't program a channel from the VFO, but you can edit a load of dummy channels. So I would recommend putting a load of dummy analog channels in, repeaters, and a load of dummy DMR ones, and you can go in and edit them. So if I go and find one, these are channels I've got programmed with my hotspot. So if look, there's a local FM repeater. So if I go in menu, settings, like I said, there's just these 2 here for settings, really, for the radio settings and the channel. I can go into channel settings and I could change the transmit tone there, transmit power, receive frequency, transmit frequency, looking for that, receive, transmit frequency, there they are. So you can set it up for different repeaters. And remember, this is in analog mode, so there is a workaround, although it would be nice to transfer all the contents of the VFO to a channel. Now on a DMR repeater, you can edit a DMR repeater, an RF repeater, and you can put in all the different colour codes, slots, You can change the frequencies. So when you're editing a DMR repeater, theoretically you can change one to, to the new repeater you want to enter. If you're on holiday, you can go in and edit all the details, and you can temporarily link the talk group. So if you wanted, as long as you've got all the talk groups programmed in before you go out, before you go on holiday, or wherever you're travelling, you can link a DMR repeater or a hotspot channel. You can link it to a different talk group, but when you turn it off and back on again, it's programmed to what it was originally. I'll just give you a quick demo of that. So if I go to one that I know works, so UK calling, that's 2350 in the UK. If I go to so if I'm not going to do it, but if I transmit now, that would be on 2350. And if I press the list button, the red one, because that is underneath list, if I press list, if I want to change that to talk group 9 for local stuff, if I was on an actual RF DMR repeater, I can select that digital contact, that talk group call to that channel. So I've clicked select, it went green. If I come back out now, when I press TX, it should go to 9. So if I wait half an hour or a long time, that will still be on 9. But if I turn the radio off and then back on again, it will be back to what it was originally. So there we are, 2350. So that's all the things I like about the radio. There's Malcolm in France, he's always on 2350. That's all the things I like about the radio. I'm now going to mention a few things which I'm not so keen on or need improving. So I also wanted you to see what you get on the screen, the information when someone's talking, and hear the audio quality. So I'll turn it up and shut up for a minute and you'll hear some audio.
I don't even know what model it is, and I don't attend the radio club often enough, to be honest with you, and into it in more depth. But yeah, they do work. This High Terra, this is what you call a professional DMR radio.
Malcolm is mobile, and he's probably cutting in and out a bit because of reception.
It seems to work fine, and you get a lot of the smaller High Terra ones as well. The little ones about the size of a cigarette packet. Actually, some of them they can be programmed up and used on the DMR network as well. So I'm assuming it's the same software that I've got for this 7858 Andrew. So back round to you for any comment. S4VRX.
Yeah, for VRX, I'll tell you what, this DMR's was a strong learning curve. There's a lot to learn about it to get everything working properly in the first place. One of my biggest issues was everybody dropping.
So there's Malcolm. He's mobile in France. He's talking to Andrew in Australia, and the audio's really good. And there's no pop at the start like on the HD1. That was a big complaint with that. There is a workaround with that. You have to take it apart and modify it, but the audio is lovely and clean. So these are a few of the bad things I've noted about it, or things that need improving, which will probably happen with the firmware updates. So I've already mentioned there's no VFO to channel. but you can edit dummy channels. So I'd highly recommend you put a load of dummy channels in, so you can just edit. The analog ones will work a treat. You can just edit all the details. The DMR, RF DMR repeaters, you can change all the details, but you can't change the talk group number permanently. You can do it temporary. If anyone knows of a way of doing it, let me know, because you know it'll be useful in the comments. But you can temporarily do it, and I did have some problems with this actually, and I got it working by putting the latest firmware in and getting a code plug which was made for the latest firmware. That's really important. For a long time I didn't have the option to press. I pressed list and I brought up a list of talk groups, but it would not. I could choose a talk group, but there was no select button. The button was not visible. So if you're having problems with that, there is a way around it. So there's still a few bugs on this radio. There's bugs on the HD1. They're all new radios, you know, they're work in progress. But at least they're altering them and working on these problems. Some people are having them freezing, some people are having them locking up. And the same thing on the HD1. They're about the same. They're about the same. There's bugs on one, bugs on the other. Neither of them are perfect. There's things the HD1 does that this doesn't, and the same the other way round. You know, and these are around the £150 mark, £140 mark. You know, these are not the most expensive radios, but they're not dead cheap like the 380. But funnily enough, once you've updated to the flash firmware on the 380 or the RT3 or the 2017 or the RT82, you can do stuff on those relatively cheap radios that you can't do on here. You can type in the talk group number. I mean, that's absolutely superb. I'll just give a demo of that. So if you went out with a hotspot, oh, that's clever, that's dead, so I can't show you that, but you change the talk group by entering it using the hash key, and you can just type in the talk group number, and so if you have one channel programmed in for your hotspot, you can go to any talk group you like. So I've just written down a few notes about comparison between the Anytone 868 and the Ailunce Hd1, but I've had this now for 2 or 3 weeks, the 868, and I'm in a good position to say what I think about both of them. And these are just my opinions. You know, I'm not linked to any of these radios. I'm in all these groups and in some of the beta groups, and this is genuine, coming from genuine experience. You know, no favouritism. So on the 868 there's no pop, there's no audio pop at the start, which a lot of people are finding annoying on the HD1, although there is a workaround if you want to modify it. The 868 is not fully programmable like the HD1 is, you know, but there are workarounds, and as long as you've got all the talk groups programmed in, you can sort of work around this issue. The screen on the 868 is brighter. So if you go into the menu, I think we're on full brightness. You know, that's a setting, and it would be in settings, and it's nothing to do with the channel, it would be in radio set. So backlight, so it's on maximum, so that's maximum brightness. Put the HD1 next to it. That's just a silly photo I had on there when I was experimenting. Haven't changed it. So there's no brightness control on here. You can say whether you want it to go on or off, or for any length of time, go off in 10 seconds or whatever. But you can't. I've got it on continuous. So you can't alter the brightness on here. So if you live somewhere where it's very sunny, that's not the UK by the way, then it's not quite as visible, although it's not bad at all. You know, you can still see it, but the 868 is a lot brighter. And the 868 is a better, brighter screen. I've just said that, and it's pocket size, so it really is quite a lot smaller. So I do prefer the size of the 868. So both of these radios have bugs. Loads of them have been figured out, and they're improving all the time. So I can recommend both of them. So this is the bottom line. My thoughts on the 868 and the HD1. If you want a radio to take out that's nice and small and pocketable, you know, it's going to be the 868. It's a lot smaller and it's very, very nice looking. It's probably the nicer looking radio. You know, there are workarounds. As long as you've got all the digital talk groups in, it's fine. Now the HD1, it is a bit higher power. It's 10 watts apparently, and it's completely programmable without a PC. If you're out and about and you want to put a talk group in that you don't even have programmed in, you can just create a talk group. You just create a digital contact and assign it to a group call and type in the number and give it a name. So the HD1 is more versatile. You can do a lot of things with it, and you don't, even if you haven't got a computer, you could still get that to work. But it all boils down to the size and how programmable you want it on the fly. Okay, so that's just my opinions. You know, there's going to be people posting in the comments, people that like one radio or the other, and it'll be worth looking in there for people's opinions. I'm just going to do a little video now going through all the settings that I can find on the radio, or most of them. So if you're not interested now, you can stop the video now because it might be a bit boring. I'm just going to go through the settings so you can see what's in the radio. Right, so you've got a slightly different set of settings when you're in analog mode to when you're in digital mode. So I'm in analog mode there, and you've got the list button there, which would bring up the list of digital contacts, talk groups, and you've got these two buttons on the side that you can assign to short and long press, same as P1 and P2, and you've got this orange button on the top which does the turbo. So going through the settings, everything is going to be centered around this menu button. So the book, that's contact, so that's not going to be used in analog. You've got zone. So you've got loads of different zones, up to 250 zones apparently. 250 channels per zone. So when you're in zone, you can have a priority, select as priority. Scan lists, I don't use them, but if you go into scan lists, you can turn it on and off. Settings, you know, we've already been through the channel set, you know, it's all your standard stuff, frequencies, slots, tones. This is my device info. So I haven't shown you what's properly in radio set. You've got beep, always turn that off. Backlight time. Why you'd want it to go off, I don't know. If you don't want it to be seen, turn the brightness down. I love it on all the time, and it doesn't kill the battery at all. Doesn't make hardly any difference. Channel name, key lock, power off. That's a timer, and you can choose different periods of time to turn off. But it did crash when I used that, so I don't use that. Transmit timer. I mean, this is clever. Maximum volume level. So if you've got a hearing problem like me and you want to protect your ears from it going super loud, you can set that. Ear maximum volume. I found that applied to the microphone. So if you're plugging in an external microphone, you can set the maximum level there so it doesn't distort. You've got mic feature. So you can make it a bit louder, change the language. So we've only got English on this firmware. Menu exit time. I mean, that's a good idea. That goes up to 1 minute. So you go into menu, you can sit there thinking what you want to do. It doesn't revert back to the main screen. Intro display. You can have characters, which you can set up in the software. You can have a photo, which is uploaded from the PC software, I think. I haven't tried that yet. Customers pick. Yeah, and that one's uploaded from the PC software. Not sure about picture. That might just be a logo. But I've got it on characters. Now you've got a top line and the bottom line, and you can say which one you want to be the main channel, or you can turn the bottom line off, which is the sub channel. So if you go in there, you can turn the sub channel off. You can say which one you want, I think, channel A or B. You could have the main channel as the top one or the main as the bottom one. I turn the bottom one off because I don't want to know what's going on, and there's not much activity around here, so I certainly don't want it filling up the screen. Message note. So if a message comes in, you can make it ring. If a call comes in, a private call, you can set it to ring. Frequency step. So quite a lot of steps here. Analog squelch level. Power save, I don't use them. Not sure what that is. Something to do with tones, I think. So it's got Vox control, scan mode. What happens when it searches? It's calling it scan, but it's search. It applies to search as well. You know, if it hears a signal, what will it do? Will it wait 5 seconds and go past, or wait for a carrier? That sort of thing. You've got mic level, 5 levels. DTMF speed. So this radio's got DTMF on it. Although I haven't used that yet. You've got an FM radio. You've got a man down button. Start up power. So if you put the start up power, I don't know the password. And this is an unusual feature. You've got auto repeater. In the CPS software, you can set the offsets for the repeaters in your country. I'm in the UK. I've set mine as 600. 0.600, you know, for 2 meters, 1.6 for UHF, could be plus or minus, and 9 could be plus or minus. And I believe there's a way of cycling through them and trying to open repeaters. I haven't used that yet. Now this is very good. You've got, these are referring to the keys. PF1 is the top one, PF2 is the bottom one, that's P1 and 2, and the top one is labelled at PF3, and each one of these you can change the operation of it. So PF1 and 2, so go to PF1, short press. All these options apply to all of these settings you can alter. So you can have it on one touch one. I set that in the PC software and I set it as a 4000, so so that when you press one of these buttons, one of these presets, it will do an unlink. It takes you straight to the 4000 command, and you press transmit and it'll unlink. So you can do one of the one touches, which has plenty of channels, work alone, nuisance delete, digital monitor, that's like promiscuous mode but it's single slot or dual slot, which is quite handy, sub channel switch. So I've just set that one for sub channel switch. I think what that will do is it will go from single sub channel on. So I've got two lines now. I've got a digital on the top and analog on the bottom. Press it again and it's gone off. I'm not sure if that was it. Radio set. Yeah, so that's the bottom of the settings for the keys. You've got time zones, date and time. So that's everything in radio set. This radio's got GPS. The new version has got of the firmware 1.27, or is it 2.27? It's got GPS. Digital monitor. So digital monitor color code, digital monitor ID, slot hold. So that really is all the settings. I've set mine to do an unlink with a quick tap there, a long press. I've set it to record, so that will record conversations. Long press again to turn it off, I think. I've set this one for a quick tap to be VFO mode. Incidentally, when you're in VFO mode, you can go to settings and channel set. So I was in analog mode. If I wanted to be in digital, you could say digital there, or you could have analog and digital, you know, for the two lines. So change it over to digital. And it now says digital up in the top left below the year. So that's basically all the settings. Slightly different set of features, settings for analog to digital. Right, I hope that was interesting. Just trying to give you quite a detailed overview of all the menu settings. 732E0 UKH.